In this video, we'll practice combining like terms when we have a really long or complicated expression. Let's take the following expression for example. It seems like there's a lot of different numbers here, but we can actually condense this expression to make it a little easier to work with by combining like terms. But what do we mean by that? If we look closely, we see that x shows up twice in our expression. This means that the two different places that x shows up are what we call like terms. In other words, in both places, the same variable, x, is being described by the coefficient in front of it. The coefficients, or the 4 and 9 in front of the x variables, are different though, which is okay. In this expression, we are adding everything, which means that we can add the 4 and 9 together to get that we have 13x. We just slightly condensed this expression by combining the two different places that we saw the x variable. We can do the same thing for the other like terms in this expression. We see that y shows up twice in our expression too. We can add the coefficients in front of the y terms to simplify for this variable as well. When we add the 2 and 17 together, we get 19. So now we can write 19y instead of 2y plus 17y. Now you try. How would you combine the z-like terms? We see that z is in our expression twice, which means that we can add the coefficients to combine them. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8, so combined we have 8z. N only shows up in our expression once, so there's nothing to combine it with, but we combined everything else that we were able to. Our simplified expression is this. Notice how much easier this looks to work with. Let's try another example. Imagine you're walking through a farmer's market buying some fruits and vegetables. You buy 3 apples and 2 peaches from the first stand. You go to the next stand and buy 7 carrots and 4 onions. You stop at another stand and grab 6 more peaches and 2 more carrots. At the last stand, you grab 12 more apples. To make all of this information a bit easier to look at, let's denote each fruit or vegetable with a letter. Instead of apple, we'll write A. Instead of peach, we'll write P, and so on. If we were to write an expression using all of this information, it would look like this. Combine all like terms to simplify this expression. This is the correct simplified expression after combining like terms. When we add up all of the coefficients before A, we get 15. Adding up the coefficients before P, we get 8. When we add up the coefficients before C, we get 9. O only shows up once, so we can't combine it with anything. Before we move on, one really important thing to remember. If we have something like 2x plus 3x squared, then there are no like terms. X and x squared are different, so we can't combine them. Now let's talk about combining like terms when it comes to solving chemistry problems. When you do problems in chemistry, it's really important to simplify expressions and equations as much as you can, but it's also important to know what you must keep separate. Let's take a look at this scenario. You're doing an experiment and calculate that you have 500 oxygen molecules, 2,000 hydrogen molecules, and 4,000 nitrogen molecules. Which of these terms can you combine? That's right, you can't combine any of those terms since they're different types of molecules. Oxygen molecules aren't the same as hydrogen molecules or nitrogen molecules, so you can't combine these terms. In this class, you'll be working with a lot of different molecules, sometimes at the same time, so make sure you always write down what type of molecule something is.